I see the notification.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm having to fix something while uh, let's see, how did I do it again? Okay, there it is. Split. Okay, that's good enough for that. And make sure it's there it is. Okay, I fixed it. All right, I hope you can read that on the screen there, some of it. Well, I've got to advertise this to the places. Hold on a second. Oh, it's that one I used. Right. I didn't realize I just used that before. Oh well.
Mm.
Picture of the part of the class on the dock in Santa Monica.
I like that picture.
Hmm. Okay, there. The volume's okay, so I'll shut off my volume. And then pop out the chat.
Wagon Mountain Seriously.
I don't need to do that anymore. It's working now. Facebook boost. Okay. Dawn Possession, hello. Annie Odie said her real name was Omega before taking Odie name. Is that true? Oh gosh. The first name that I knew about was Annie. When I met her, actually I met her when she joined. Now she might have changed that. I mean, I don't remember that. That doesn't mean wasn't true. But Chuck Odie and I went to meet her in, I think it was Missouri. There's the town near Kansas City, right on the river.
Manhattan, Kansas.
No,
Oh, sorry.
right on the river.
What are we talking about? I was
Where
thinking about.
Annie already joined.
Oh, I don't know.
Or maybe it was St. Louis. Well, I'm confused about it now. But she came into the group that I was in. And I guess I was sent by whoever the group coordinators were to meet up with Annie Odie and to bring her back to the camp that we were in. So I don't know the answer to that question, but I wouldn't be surprised. Let me set this on live chat. Okay, so lots to talk about because we listened to two tapes since the last live stream, and one of them was just 17 minutes long. And I need to get it on my screen here so I can talk about it correctly. On my notes, that is. That's all this is my rough notes. I'm not that good of a typist. So anyway, I'm calling this Sawyer's Very Rough Notes, taken from listening to audio 268A, which was recorded on October 20th, 1987. And Doe had us make the tape with the content summarized as having a habit of checking with older member. It's the beginning of it. There's not a lot in this one, but it's potent. Being a house for them to perform through. Um, being a house to the next level to perform through, right? Yeah, is that the way? Yeah. And defensiveness, asking a partner for help as a security blanket. Like one of the ways of helping with help is maintaining the kind of countenance T and O would have. is one example of asking your partner for help if you lose that countenance. And don't count on your memory was another part of it, that tape.
Oh yeah, that's
Um, so,
right. In the 17-minute one, you guys were in Atlanta.
yes, in the 17-minute one, it says at the end of the tape, it says something about being in Atlanta. Right, no, it says that. That means we just had arrived there. I think some of them went ahead of others. And there were 8 individuals that hadn't arrived yet, I guess. I don't remember who those were exactly. My guess is that they were either part of the crew from California or the crew that was trying to fix up the boat that Noah bought. And he sent a crew down to Houston where it was docked to fix it up and make it seaworthy, you know, paint it or whatever they did to it. So anyway, that's a little bit of the and um, and so Joe starts to talk about it. Oops, I was going to leave that on the screen. Go over to here, and he says that some of you who want so badly to do everything right, when you are in control and have next level mind in and teacher's mind in your vehicle, don't think a single member of the class really wants to do uh, next level conduct all the time and be a good check partner. In other words, I don't think I wrote that right. Um, like I said, this is rough notes. So um, he's talking about that he felt like the members of the class wanted to badly do everything right. Um, and to have control, to have the next level mind in them, and and their teacher's mind in them, which would be the same thing. Right, it's your only security. That's right, and he talks about that a little bit later. But it's good to bring it up right in the beginning because it's so relative to the whole process. And the reason it's security is because human mind really isn't worth it to the next level. I don't know if that's the way to say it. Yeah, it's wishy-washy. It's easily swayed. It's easily influenced. Yes, and right. It's from the mind of the ones we refer to as the Luciferian, space alien, fallen angel souls. At least that's the way I refer to them. Um, yeah, and so because this planet is saturated with that mind. That's why it's so hard to imagine that T and Doe were exactly who they said they were. Because that mind can't stand for people to think they are who they said they were. Resents that they are the only genuine voices and, among the whole planet. The only completely genuine voices. Let me put it that way, because each individual that grows to draw on their minds, which doesn't mean they ever heard of Tiendo necessarily, but each individual that draws on their minds by drawing on their goodness, by drawing on their uh, even what Jesus taught, of course, because he was the same, also a member from the next level. That anyway, so when individuals are choosing to draw from that mind, then to to some degree of which they do that is how much of that mind they actually have within them, how much of that mind they are filling their pillowcase with, or their pocket with, or their container, filling their soul with in the old fashioned way of talking about it. Um, and keeping it there. And so Doe was bringing up in this tape that uh, it's a 24-hour a day existence, that you want to be the house for your older member to perform through, from brushing your teeth to how you look in the mirror when you're taking a bath or speaking to others, or even more so during private times. During those times, you want to be more than other times to have your older member's mind in your vehicle. Because in those times, and all those times that we're talking about, the lower forces are seeking to steer you away from having their mind in you. Because um, they know that's how it works. They know that that's the process of converting your um, mind into a next level mind, into becoming a member of the next level, because they went through that to, to some degree. But apparently, it wasn't enough of a degree in this regard because they had the potential to fall when they joined in a previous civilization somewhere. So, those talking about how this has to become one's habit. I, I don't mean has to, huh? Right. He even called it an addiction. He says it's a good addiction. And that's where the security blanket comes in. It's like without it, you could be totally lost. Like he used the example of Glen Odie just because Glen Odie were sitting there, so he was just using a student example. And he said that if Glen Odie can establish the habit with uh, their the countenance, even if I mean with maintaining the countenance that um, um, the next level gives us by example to maintain, which, by the way, is a pleasant countenance. It's like somebody that would see you wouldn't think that you were troubled about something because you would be conquering anything that would trouble you and getting rid of it. But if you weren't, you'd be asking your check partner, um, is my countenance the kind of countenance that T and O would have me have? Or would have in a, in a circumstance, or let me know if my countenance changes because I don't know when it changes. Actually, that applied to me because that was brought up to me that my facial expressions didn't show. um, Well, that some students, like in particular Song Odie, when we were partners, felt like I was angry with her sometimes, and Doe knew that I wasn't angry with her, and so he came over to me and he in person, and I think we were in California at the time, and he said he told me um, about that and that it was something to work on. And that's all he said about it. And from that point on, I was thinking about it more. I was keeping it on the front of my mind, and I don't think I do that now. But I was in the focus of a student, so all my attention, as far best I could tell, was being put on learning the lessons. And so it's not putting on a false countenance, although that's better than having a bad countenance because you're um, because at least you're trying to rid of whatever the influence is that's influencing you to be down in the mouth, down on yourself, down on other people, critical of other people, whatever it is. Thinking about the past or thinking about some in the world that um, you were no longer a part of their lives and how they might be suffering or something. So all those thoughts, one can understand having all those thoughts. It's not like those thoughts were wrong, but in the classroom, if you kept on having those thoughts and you didn't try to um, block them out or convert them into positive thoughts, then you weren't making headway on the growth that needed to happen for the next level to reward you with crew membership on their spacecrafts. Because members of the next level they don't have the lower force influences on board the spacecrafts um, uh, you know, to, try to get people to linger on depressive thoughts or even egotistical thoughts. That seems to be the direction that the Luciferian space alien and fallen angels went, that they were self-centered. They weren't looking to one another. No, they weren't looking to their older member, the captain of their task. They were looking to themselves, one another, which is a lateral um, instead of an upward draw, because um, because your peers can be check partners and they can help us with every member of the human kingdom potentially can be helpful to another member of the human kingdom. Of course, that's not uh, any kind of new information. Um, but but what kind of help is it? Is the big question. And if somebody recognizes that T and Do have what they say they have, what they continue to demonstrate they have, then one is gonna want to have their mind in them more and more. At least in well entirely, would be the goal. And like those would say that Doe didn't feel like he had T's mind in him entirely. There were times where he would go for a little bit of time. I don't know how long. What did he say? It was like if it's a matter of hours, he feels really bad that he went that long. I think he was talking about minutes, matter of a certain amount of minutes. He wasn't trying to be exact about that. But um, but he said that was the reason they started us on the routine of 12-minute checks. Not that that's um, like something to be made a ritual of, but to introduce us to having them on our minds at least every 12 minutes for a minute.
I was just doing it, trying to just set an alarm once an hour, and the alarm was called "Think about your older member."
Hmm, that's interesting.
I didn't do it for that long, but I mean that's something that's something to think about. You could do.
Yeah, yeah.
We have alarms.
Right. So I mean, the reason why this is really good information, many of the reasons, of course, there's a number of reasons, but to see it is to understand that this is part of the process, and this is what humans can aspire to where they can truly become one with God, one with their older member, who is a representative of one of the many members in the next level that can serve to humans as their God. Because, like Jesus even said, the least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than the greatest human, and he used John the Baptist as being an example of the greatest human. So, uh,
John the Baptist. I like John.
yeah, John the Baptist was, I don't know which student was doing that task, but it doesn't matter. And that kind of thinking, I mean, I've thought about it a little bit, but that doesn't mean there's any accuracy to wondering about it. So I won't bother. But because that would be like drawing in my mind, to give you some ideas about what student that might have been.
I told you I told that guy that I took to the airport that I also told him that I thought Jesus and Judas were that Judas had was actually Jesus's most loyal disciple.
Yeah, but I don't know we could say that from what Doe said that he was the most loyal.
No, it's just
Oh, you were
my
just saying.
my own thinking.
I got you. Yeah, but the whole idea, of course, to think about Judas in a positive way, that's what probably is the biggest part of what you share with that person, right?
Well, that he did what none of the other that he did what Jesus knew none of the other disciples would be able to do. They wouldn't be able to give him up for the fulfillment of his task because his task involved his own death. And none of them wanted that to happen.
And
They
it
wanted
seems
him to
like,
hide.
but uh, Judas didn't want that to happen either, according to Doe, right?
No, but he knew that it had to happen in order to give humanity a chance, to give the next souls that were going to be
Right,
coming the chance.
right.
Because that's what his older member told him had to happen. So he trusted his older member completely. This is just like I could write a book on it.
Yeah,
And like Jesus telling Judas, like you're going to be known as the most hated man in the history of mankind. You're going to be known as the person who betrayed me for a handful
you
of.
think he said that to him?
Yeah.
I don't know that.
No, I'm just saying that's how I like to
That's if
imagine
you
it.
if you were writing of a story
That I
about
can
it.
imagine them,
Yeah. All right. Well,
having this
you
conversation
definitely could, write a little novel about it,
and Judas saying,
and
you
somebody
know,
might get something out of that.
I don't know.
I mean, they could think about it differently because that's what Doe was doing when he was talking about it in a tape. Was it this tape? No, it wasn't this tape, but it was a previous one.
It was one of the
One of the
not
360
that
something.
long ago. Yeah,
Right, right.
we just heard it.
Yeah, so yeah, so I'm not going to try to go through exactly what he said about that because we talked about it in the previous one of the previous streams. Even though I know I
Yeah, I
don't
just
do a
got
very
off
good
the
job
track.
in
Sorry.
documenting. Well, uh, I went back to talking about Jesus, so it's good information to think about, um, and keep on bringing up for any of the new folks that come to this stream, because it could potentially help people get out of their box, get
Yeah,
out
just
of
think
their
about things differently.
yeah, think about things differently instead of the way that they've been we've been largely brainwashed to think about things.
Yeah.
And that's what's funny about this. They're the group that people say were the most brainwashed, T and Doe's group, while the people that are saying that are the most brainwashed, and they don't know it. Where the members of the class knew they wanted to be brainwashed, but that the next level wouldn't brainwash them because the next level knew that they had to brainwash themselves.
Yeah, you had to pull it through your conscious mind.
Yeah, you had to pull their mind into your conscious mind. So it was no longer like a memory, like reading a book and then remembering what was said in the book, like what happens with most of the religions. They look at their scriptures and they memorize parts of them, and then they think that they understand them. And they understand some of them, and to some degree they probably understand them, but they don't recognize what they don't know in them. And the only way they can recognize what they don't know about them is if they are asking their Heavenly Father or whatever the name is of their God in their minds, or the highest source they can imagine existing if they don't, you know, that created the planet and the life forms on it. And if they are asking, then the next level will see to it that they're giving opportunities to learn more, but they still have to choose to learn it. Like Tiendo gave us the opportunity to learn everything, but we weren't learning it just by being in the classroom because you had to put into motion the things that was actually taking control of your own thoughts. And anybody that's had an addiction or a strong memory that they love or hate, that has a lot of emotion associated with it, knows that it can be very challenging to get rid of that. So imagine if that was, that you had to get rid of everything. In other words, not have any thoughts about the past, not have any thoughts about the future, actually, except for what was happening, the next day's work, which Jesus talked about too. He said, don't worry about tomorrow. Worry about the things that are happening today. That's where your concern should be. Um, and by worry, it means be concerned of, to consider, to be thinking about. Um, so I mean, I don't know. I don't remember exactly if that's the best interpretation of that, but I think it's probably pretty close. But because all the things that Jesus was teaching you will see in the teachings from Tiendo, even though they weren't referring to scriptures at the time for all these things. Like the way I'm doing, they didn't refer to scriptures hardly at all. until this time in 1987 when they started to think about sharing the information again in the public way, and that's what's talked about in the next tape of continuing on with the idea of having a church. The church being the body of believers that, relative to what they were talking about, don't know that they're the church yet because they've become, in some respects, addicts to different forms of sensuality, with a primary part being uh, sexuality. And and when um, and so that's why they were talking about at the time of ministering to all the different groups that have spun up in the human kingdom, or in California and Colorado, where they were at the time, where we were at the time, because I was among them, and and going to their meetings with the intent of offering a little of what we've learned, and and with the idea that some in those meetings might recognize us, recognize not us, but recognize the mind from the next level coming through us. And Dan Sodi and Jan Odie and Al Odie went to talk about in the next tape having gone to a meeting or two. I don't remember if they went to more than one. But at that meeting, one person that just came up to Al Odie and hugged him, right?
Yeah, because that's what they did in the meeting.
Yeah, they did that on a regular basis with each other, right?
Yeah.
But that person said to Al Odie,
That he was so open or
yeah,
something.
and Dan Sodi wondered why he didn't get that question or that.
Well, I don't know if it was Dan Sodi that said that. I
I
can't
thought it
remember
was.
who it was that said that they didn't feel like they were as open as the other classmates were or something. I can't remember. I don't want to say for sure because I don't remember.
Well, I wrote down Lagodi, I believe, on there.
Lagodi, not Allodi.
Oh,
Okay, yeah, okay. That's why I was confused. I was like, I didn't remember it as being
no,
Allodi.
Al Odie was the one that the individual
Came up and
said
hugged.
that to
Yeah.
about.
Lagodi, yeah. I think that I don't know if it, I
I
don't
thought it was
remember.
Dan Sodi
I
because
don't
Lagodi didn't go to the meeting.
I don't remember.
Well, that's why I took notes because I got it right there. Unless I just wrote it down wrong. I can get mixed up on the voices. So another example of having your older member's mind in you is like when you're driving down the road. You could say, uh, "Is this the route T and Do would take?" And those that were saying that some of you do hundreds of things a day that you don't think are worth going through it. Not thinking it's not. You're not thinking that it's not the way I wrote it down. I don't know if I got it right, but not thinking it's not worth it to go through it, but just don't think it is worth it.
Like washing the dishes. You know,
Right,
just mundane things.
right.
I think I could be wrong, of course, but I think that's what he was getting at.
And he says, see, this is the first time he said this to this degree that I can remember. And he said, like, even though I do remember that T said in a meeting one time. It was an outdoor meeting, I believe, in 1975 or 6, or maybe it's a little after that. I'm not sure about that. But said, you need to give us your minds. Those said when something about when T said that, he was like, whoa. I mean, he didn't use those words to describe it, but it was like a little bit of a shocker, I think. Do you remember when you talked about that in the audio tape? But anyway, so because the ramifications of that, so anybody that is going to say that Doug got off the track by wanting their minds, um, because they needed to give him their minds in order for them to become a conduit that the next level could trust. That's what it's about for the next level. Can they trust somebody? Or are they going to be wishy-washy and they're going to, say one thing and and then say something else? Or are they going to, and it's very difficult to see. We're wired to want to put our own mind into things. I know. I saw a number of examples of doing that while I was in the classroom, and looking back on it, uh, I recognized it. I didn't recognize it so much while I was in the classroom. I really didn't. That's why probably I needed to have this experience now, because I'm seeing how much I just accepted. I thought I accepted, but I didn't apply. Cause I would leave the meeting, like this meeting that we're talking about. I remember that meeting, and I remember going away from that meeting and saying to my partner frequently, is there anything? If you see anything in my countenance or anything else about me, let me know. And that seems different than the next level, different than what those mind is on, or how it would have us maintain in conduct and ways. Let me know. And Doe talks about in this meeting that if you're not asking your partner for that, they're not going to give it to you. Just like if you don't ask the next level for help, they're not going to give it to you. I mean, they may still give you help. I think they will, because they know that we're all in progress in the process.
If you're not asking them, they're not gonna give you help. Why would they?
Right, just help
They're
comes
working.
in other ways.
Yeah, they're working with people who want their assistance,
Right,
who are reaching to them.
right. I'm
I
just,
don't know. That's just my.
no,
I don't know. I have
I,
no idea, but that would be my thinking.
no, I think that's accurate, but I think there's just, there's,
There's no
um,
absolute.
I think we get help, even though we don't consciously necessarily ask for it. They still have ways of helping the entire human kingdom in different ways. It's not everybody doesn't get the same help. I mean, some of the help might be the same help, but some of the help is going to be geared to certain people that are closer to picking up on it because it's been in the atmosphere. It's been put in the atmosphere. So people are drawing on it in their own way. That's why Doe said that even those that never heard of Tian-Do, there could be some that um, the next level would determine we're separating from the human kingdom enough to where their souls could be saved for a future opportunity. But those souls would still have to go through a graduation experience that would be similar to what um, happened with in this civilization. um, and we don't know that those souls would be a part of the beginning of the civilization necessarily, or brought in when they were reaching the lesson ground that they were still working on. They could have even been brought in at the very end.
Right,
Like,
because they don't need to do all the other stuff.
right. And that might have been the case with a devotee and some of the others that joined in 94. Because the whole idea of the first shall be last and the last shall be first, and the parable that Jesus gave of the prodigal son that um, went against or went away from the, separated from the next level, but came back and was given a really welcome, a big welcome, while the other ones that hadn't left didn't get that kind of a welcome. Um, well, they get the same reward. There's another parable that talks about getting the same reward, even though some invested the money, invested what was given by the king wisely, and some didn't. You remember
Yeah.
that?
Well, like one, yeah, a couple of them, one got back, double or
Right.
triple or something, and one got back double. But then the one that he had only given one talent to buried it in the field and didn't make anything because he just wanted to hoard it because he
Because
only
he was
had one.
afraid that the king, if he lost it, the king would have a big problem with him.
But
So he
probably
wasn't
just
trusting that the king wanted them to use the talent that was given to them. I mean the
to make
talent.
more
Yeah, to make more. In other words, the next level is looking for really, good
works.
fruit,
Yeah, for there you go.
from their investment of growing the garden and investment in time and energy. But that doesn't mean that that represents, that even if one graduated, the next level would still have a celebration about that for that one individual. So it's not like they have a bigger celebration if there's more than one. Well, it would be bigger because there'd be more than one there in the celebration. I'm not being silly when I say things like that. I know, but
It just, yeah.
it just confuses things, right?
No, you're just wrapping yourself around yourself.
Yeah, I wrap myself around myself. Okay, so moving on. So let's see what else. Oh, defensiveness was something that uh, we were very tardy if we were still offended if a partner brings something up. Uh, like let's say a partner said to the other partner that you didn't check with me on that. Let's say one partner decided they wanted to go read a book in their off time, and the other partner at the time was coming out of lab duty, and the other partner just went and did it, you know, or just just said to the partner, "I was thinking about reading a book. Does that seem okay?" Instead of, I mean, that would be a way to do it, um, to check, but I think a better way to do it be to say, "What do you think we should do? Is there anything priority, you know, in our lessons that we can do now at this time together or something?" And as opposed to planting the thought of what you want to do ahead of time, you'd be opening yourself up to what the other person might have in mind to do. And Then that person, if they didn't have anything on their minds to do, it would be like an appropriate way to respond would be, well, I don't think anything in particular to do. Is there something that you think we should, you want to do, or and the other person might say, well, I was thinking about whether this would be a good time to read one of the books in the library, and then the other person would say, well, that'd be good. Actually, I need to use the bath chamber, and I'll come meet up with you after I use the bath chamber. You know, if that seems okay, and so that would be the kind of
Meanwhile, you
dialogue,
peed yourself.
huh?
Meanwhile, you've gone to the bathroom because you took so long to ask. I'm just thinking practicalities.
You mean you peed your pants or something?
Yes,
No, but
because you're going through this whole.
yeah, but you do this in seconds.
Okay.
You don't spend a whole lot of time doing it. I mean, uh, but that's the process. Yeah, I mean, if you waited that long to go to the restroom, then before the person even came out, it's out of the lab duty. If you weren't on lab duty with them, and you were getting back with your regular craft partner, you would say, I waited too long to use the restroom. I need to use it now. Is that okay? And of course, the
But what if
person's
that
going to
person
say,
said? What if that person said no? It's not okay.
they're not going to say that unless there's a fire in the bathroom where they're going, and then they would say, no, you better not go now because there's a fire over there. No, I mean those are the kind of things that
I was just trying to
emergencies
think.
was a reason to actually do things in a way that wasn't necessarily the same way of thinking and acting day in and day out. I mean, because, emergencies were like an exception to that. Because people would think about extreme ways of, interpreting these things. But Doe was pointing out in this case, in this meeting, that there weren't a lot of extremes. I mean, he didn't talk about emergencies, of course, but he's talking about that all he wanted was his older member's mind and wishes and desires. And he said that he'd be happy to be changing the bedpans of T, considering what he doesn't have anymore with him in T's physical incarnation, presence with him doing the task. That's how much he wants to have T's presence, and so and he was bringing that up in the context of how some
Hold on.
individuals.
Oh, it's just buffering.
He was bringing it
Hey,
up.
it's
Oh, you think it's frozen?
check to see if you're still connected. It might just be my phone.
It says 53 minutes. It
This
says
is
it's still going,
yeah.
and I see me moving in there.
But for me, it's frozen.
It's jagged. Me too.
To sign on, I don't know. I don't need the internet.
Yeah, the video is kind of corrupted.
Joseph Coates has a question.
All right.
Not to get you off track, but just in case it's a bad connection, I guess.
Joseph Coates says, "Hey Sawyer, Doe gave you the nickname Sawyer because you used to chop firewood, right? Who is Sawyer in the original reference?" I don't know of any individual original reference actually. So I'm not sure how to think about that question. But yeah, it wasn't a nickname. It was the name that I would use at the time, all the time. It was, I know it's nickname, right? Because it's not. I'm sorry, I'm picking on you for that word.
Why are you picking on Joseph?
I know, I know. I
I'm just
just,
messing with you.
I pick apart what people say, and it's like,
Don't pick on Joseph.
stop that, Sawyer. You don't need to pick on every word. But um, yeah. See, it wasn't uh, when Doe gave me the name Sawyer. He didn't say to me, because you're chopping wood, I'm going to give you the name Sawyer. I don't remember it that way. If he did it that way, no, I just don't remember it right. I just remember. See, what I remember is that I had chosen the name Philip before while I was roaming around the class. No, roaming around the United States without knowing what T and Doe and
So
some large body of students were doing.
you had chosen the name Philip, and then when you reconnected back with the class, then Doe gave you the name. So how did you get the name Sawyer?
No, so I had the name Philip, but there was somebody in the class that was actually Mark
I know.
that had the name Philip, and he was in the class with the bigger group while I was roaming around the United States. Okay, so they ended up, those started calling me Philip Brown. And so I became, when they gave us names, according to letters and names, initials, with star clusters names, my star cluster name was Procyon B, PB. Like in the schedules, if I was on duty in the lab.
So how did you get the name Sawyer?
So Doe felt like he wanted to change my name from Philip Brown to Sawyer. And then after that, we became Odies.
What did he say to you when he? How did your name become? What did he say? One day you were Philip Brown, and then Doe came up to you and said, "What?"
He said, I was thinking that we should change your name to Sawyer. It was just like that. I mean, I don't think he even asked me. I think he said, maybe he said, what do you think about being called Sawyer? I don't remember it. I just remember that it was from his mind. He came up with it.
So how do you know that was related to you cutting wood?
Because I was at the time the only chainsaw operator in the group, and I was cutting wood
So
every
you
day.
just associated that name Sawyer with.
He might have said a reference to that task.
Or you got that idea somehow?
Yeah, maybe I got it wrong in that regard. I don't think it's important, but um,
Because, like, chainsaw, that's a
well, a sawyer
saw.
is a woodcutter.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, or is it? Is it?
yeah,
Like, that's like a
that's what the word
term
actually
for.
means. That's right.
Gotcha.
Like if you want to be a sawyer, you then learn how to cut down
Like a
trees and
miller is somebody that,
yes, like a
mills.
miller is somebody that mills furniture, right? Right.
Or grain is what I was thinking,
Oh
actually.
yeah, a mill of grain. Right, right. Grinding it up.
A cobbler is
Right. A cobbler's a
a
shoemaker.
shoemaker.
Right, 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 right.
What else? What else?
That's exactly true. I believe a sawyer is actually a name. You can look it up. What is a
Okay.
sawyer? And
Right.
you'll see that it's a woodcutter. So uh, it probably is what stimulated Doe to. But he probably was thinking about giving me a name change, and he probably said something to T about it, and T said,
That guy
what are you
running around
thinking?
cutting wood all the time. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, Yeah, let's get
That little dude cutting wood all the time.
right.
I don't think they referred to you that way. I'm just.
Well, I
I
mean,
don't know what's going
it was kind of special to me to have that task because maybe it was special to my ego, my human ego. I don't know, but I got to actually post on a tree, or we had like a bulletin board actually that everybody would kind of pay attention to a number of times during the day, and
on.
on it I would post in the morning. Uh, um, uh, how many helpers I needed to gather enough wood to keep the fire going because we were burning the fire 24/7.
Because it was cold. Was this Wyoming?
No, it wasn't just cold.
Uh,
We were burning it even when it wasn't cold. Um, maybe we only started burning it only at night. I think maybe we didn't burn it 24/7. But and yeah, part of the time it was cold and it was really good to have a fire. And people would put rocks in the fire to take into their sleeping bags to warm their feet at night. I don't think I ever did that. I don't know why. But I ended up being in the bed bunk with cold feet. It wasn't like it was a procedure to do it.
unacceptable.
Yeah, I mean, there were a number of times where I was
I would
just,
be getting the rocks on the feet.
yeah, you were smart. Junodi was doing that. She was heating up the rocks. Maybe check Odie too.
I'd have some aligned along my body. Not like being cold.
Yeah, because I would wrap my feet with blankets that I had.
We've discussed this, that would be like a reason why I would maybe have to leave the group. I would not be able to be cold.
Well, if that becomes the reason, that becomes the
I have
reason.
a hard time eating meat. Like I can do it, but if it was like every night,
We didn't eat meat every
I
night.
would have a hard time.
We ate meat when we did eat meat. I think probably at the most twice a week, like bacon with eggs. You've eaten
I
bacon
can
and
do that,
eggs.
but when's the last time I've eaten bacon?
It's not been a while, but you were
It's
the one
been
that stimulated us making bacon a time or two.
I know. I maybe like once or twice a year I'll have it. I don't like intentionally not
Oh,
have it, but like
right. But if you were in the
or intentionally
classroom
have
and
it,
you
but
believed in everything that they were teaching, then you would tell your vehicle to that this was the time to eat this item, and then if you had a sick response, you threw up or something, then you would tell T&O that, and they would decide whether uh, you needed to not have the bacon.
I want the bacon.
See, you just want the bacon.
But
So
I
now,
don't want
see,
pork chops
that
or
was part of the thing with
steak
likes and dislikes. That was a
or
part of the classroom lessons.
red like I don't want like chunks of meat or chicken. Like I can't. I don't
Right,
that stuff is just
right. Well, there were
repulsive
times
to
where I
me.
didn't like the way they prepared the chicken. A
Oh,
few times that they prepared chicken. It was barbecue sauce. I thought it was too salty,
well, for me, it's not even about
but
that. It's like
I
I might as
consumed
well be
it and it
eating a
didn't hurt me.
person. I might as well
Huh?
be eating a person for how it is visceral for me.
Well,
The gristle, the
you
fat, the
be faced with whether you were
bone.
willing to overcome that or not.
I know that's what I told you.
But doesn't mean that you couldn't overcome it. Maybe you'll be put to that test again. Maybe that's the only thing we'll have to eat in the in the
Well, that's why I
in the
never tried
future.
out for Survivor or anything. No, I'm just kidding. I will die.
Well, maybe
I'll
you
be
would.
eating plants that'll make me extremely ill.
Yeah, right. That's funny.
No, I'll be fighting the squirrels for the nuts and the berries. Because if they can eat it, I can too.
They'll find you for it.
They will.
You'll have to hide them someplace. I'll find them and get them. So anyway, let's see. Joseph says
We
you're
don't
still
sit
alive,
around and talk about this, just so you guys know. We don't.
but we are now.
Yeah, we do talk about stuff, but
But it's making Joseph laugh. He says, "You guys are funny. It made me laugh. Ha ha." Good, good. Maybe we can get some laughs and
we
we can have a
are
comedy show.
very funny.
Anyway,
I'm funny.
yeah, we've got an interesting dynamic,
You're
I
funny
think.
too.
Sometimes I don't know. I don't think of myself as funny, but
You're
sometimes I
not.
come up with corny things. Sometimes in ways, right? Anyway, moving along.
Moving.
Uh, I'm gonna wait before I bring up some of the things that until there's maybe more folks here that we know are regulars that were there last time we had a stream. But let me go back to the tape, I guess, or maybe I should move on to the next tape, even though there's a lot more in this one.
Well, that first one was what 17 minutes, and it was the Atlanta one, right?
Right.
Oh, you did go over, yeah, the mind, and
hmm
you got your notes, so you're able to.
Well, he was just saying that we need to be above being offended if a check partner says you didn't check with me on that. If you have the presence, you need to not wait. In other words, um, if your partner says something or does something that they didn't check with you on, then you need to bring it up to them. And that was a big problem for some. I think I had that problem that I didn't want to make,
No waves.
waves, right? And Junodi, I know, had that problem. She didn't want to make waves with her check partners.
Yeah.
And but the task was not to make waves. The task was to take the person for what they asked for. If they asked to be notified when they weren't checking, or then that's when you need to bring it up. Even though how you bring it up can have a lot to do with it as well. Uh, like if you feel like they've got an influence present with them because of the way they look on their face or something, because a next level mind wouldn't, put a scowl on your face or how look angry about something. Uh, um, and so if you let's say you looked angry at somebody, then your check partner, if they saw that, would be obligated to say, I could be wrong, but I feel like the look on your face indicates to me that you might be angry or something. So so the person would have to actually stop and say it got to the point to where that became a contention and defensiveness came up a lot of times with a lot of people. I think it came up with me a number of times where I was a little defensive, maybe not so much, or maybe not directly defensive. That doesn't seem to be one of my problems, but it is, I mean, it can be now. So I'm not saying it's not an appropriate time to defend something. I guess it depends on whether you're defending T and Doe or not. What they said or taught, as opposed to ourselves. Or if somebody says something that's not true about you, it got to the point to where T and Doe said that the only response that we should have when our partner brings up something like that to us is thank you, I'll examine that. Thank you, I'll examine that. And then go and examine it. And then, I think, get back to them after we've examined it, and if we feel like it applied went through our examination, then you know, well, you could thank the person for it. I don't think it was procedure to thank the person, but Doe talked about it as taking it out of the category of an influence and putting it in the category of mind stuff that is not older member mind. And he said it's percentages. You know how many times I say everything's percentages, in terms of how much mind we have, how many, you know, how much next level mind we might have in our soul pockets. Um, um, and the percentages are next level mind versus not next level mind. That's the only kind of two types of mind there are. I know that's hard to imagine, but I believe it's true. And it makes sense to me. Anyway, so it's not something an older member would do. And it's mind learned from the lower forces. That is mind that doesn't come from the next level. I think it's safe to say that Jesus' teachings all came from um, Jesus' older member. So those teachings, even though they're misconstrued and they're misapplied and taken out of context and not understood to the depth that they were meant to be understood, um, uh, it is they are examples of next level mind. And that's why there's such a hatred that some have towards that anything that came from Jesus, because they were attacked by the lower forces, so that the ones that became the Christians were so attacked, and so their behavior went so far astray from that mind that they were, killing people if they didn't believe and stuff like that, or if they were, you know, in the dark ages or whatever that was happening, that that became the catalyst for people to go in the other direction, and unfortunately throw out the baby with the bathwater, by not recognizing that even though a human is not living up to those ideals, those instructions, that doesn't mean it's the fault of the creators of this world that they're not doing that. But the lower forces would have us ignore everything Jesus taught. And so that's something to actually overcome as well. Um, let's see. It even says even tying your shoe is something you could ask the next level how they tie their shoe. Now, we're not going to get direct answers on these things now. Okay? There's not going to be an older member that, I don't think, from the way that T&O taught, that's not in the docket now. Um, because the way that the older members communicate their mind to us is through the incarnation, through the vehicles that they take over to do that task through. Because they need to speak our language, they need to hear they need to have experience with the things that we need to overcome so that they can give us the tools of overcoming that. And and T didn't need to have some of the experiences that Doe needed to have because Doe was the direct individual that was actually becoming a parent for the first time and having offspring. In other words, young members of the next level through um, uh,
Tutelage.
his efforts, his tutelage, yeah, through his tutoring of each individual, because that's the way the next
Shepherding.
level older member does his shepherding. Right, is another way of saying it, and that's why when he was in the vehicle called Jesus, he was saying, um, I am the shepherd, and and the shepherd lays down their life for the sheep. In other words, has no life other than what their older member wants them to give to the sheep, to the students that recognize them. And you can see in these tapes that there was a progression of more and more difficult lessons. And that they got to places where Doe was talking about some things in such a way that some individuals were challenged to feel like, well, this is going too far. I can't handle this. I don't want to handle this. And so if they were having those kinds of thoughts, even subconsciously, it was going to keep on surfacing if they weren't getting rid of it. And that's their choice to let it keep surfacing when it happens, even subconsciously. And it can be a strong voice because the next level is allowing the lower forces to influence us. But the next level keeps it on a keel, an even keel, to where they know that if we ask for help of them, they'll give us the help so that what the lower forces try to do with us doesn't succeed. But if we don't ask for the help, then it can proceed. And we can separate more from our older member's mind. And that's what's been happening in the human kingdom since the beginning of the civilization. It's been diluted, diluted, and diluted until, but each time the next level comes with their older members taking over a human vehicle, they bring part of the next level mind with them that is appropriate for the development of those souls that are coming up in the human kingdom and are starting to separate from their humanness. And and so those lessons are appropriate for them. And so like the Moses lessons was like grade school lessons, where the Jesus lessons were like how to become a member of college, how to go to college, because it's always a continuous learning experience. As a member of the next level, you get a whole new curriculum to learn once you're a member of the next level. And so but you have to go through the graduation to become trustworthy in that. And part of the trustworthiness is that you want to be a clear pipe, a clear conduit for your older members. So you don't want to bring in your mind to try to, you know, um, come up with new ideas. Though it doesn't mean, I don't think it means um, that there's something wrong with putting things in your own words. I mean, if you can remember their words, then use as many keywords as you can. But you have to get the intention behind those words. It's not a matter of just quoting them to somebody, because then you just look like the same as those that never had that experience, who quote scripture, and it doesn't have the same force. I don't think, although it probably has some force in it because their words alone, when they're accurate, they're not in a different language and been translated into another language or several languages, like to Latin and Greek and the mixture of Hebrew and Greek that developed during the time of Jesus and thereafter. They call it Koine, I think. Is that right? Koine. Um, but so I mean, that's why they come and they take a vehicle to actually speak to us in a way that we can understand what they're saying and not have to guess about what they're saying or misinterpret what they're saying, even though we still can be prone to misinterpret. But it's a lot clearer. It's the best way. It's not, I mean, because if you are misinterpreting, as long as you stay with the information, that misinterpretation will clear up, I believe, because you'll see examples within the information left behind that show you where you were misinterpreting something. I think that's fact. I don't think I'm going off on that. Uh, um, but if I am, I want to learn about it, and I hope to see that and hear where I'm off in the future tapes that Kathy and I are going to listen to, because that becomes our greatest example of what Tiendo said, even though there is a necessity to be asking Doe what he would do now in any given circumstance, and then looking for the signs of that kind of an answer. And asking for more service is an example of asking that you're going to probably, not probably, you're going to, as long as Tiendo know that you're serious, they're going to give you help to have what you're asking for from them. Now, if you're asking for something that's human, uh, they may still give you some of it, but they really want you to have it so that you can learn that it wasn't going to really satisfy the craving that you have for his mind and to be of service and be part of that. And they gave us examples of how to be of service, disseminate their information, get their information out, the dissemination project, or different ways that they said it. Willing to stand for Tiendo and maintain that stand until, and take the consequences from maintaining that stand, because you're not going to find a lot of blatant acceptance of their information. But it's also part of the task to try to present things to people that are asking rather than trying to clobber somebody with the information that's not asking in some way. But we could be too strict in what we consider to be asking, also, I believe, um, as a way to not have to say anything to somebody. And it's not that we have to say anything to somebody, but if we feel like the circumstance has arose and and it's happening in front of us, like let's say someone's talking to us about Jesus or something. Well, maybe um, like Kathy expressed in one of the last times she was working, she started to talk to somebody about Jesus, and brought up how Judas may have been one of the most advanced members or whatever it was, the way that she said it, to help that person think a little differently about that, and without being seen as a lunatic to where she would lose her job if the person said, there's somebody trying to convert me into some cult.
He did tip me $11. So.
Yeah, he tipped Kathy $11, and so uh, so it seems like what Kathy said to him made an impression, because she said a number of things that to me were very potent, new kind of thinking for a lot of people. And that's not to put anybody down, because somebody, it could be new thinking to somebody, but that doesn't mean that they haven't overcome a lot of things that we haven't overcome. We meaning any student, anybody that's growing towards this information now. So that's why we can't judge anybody, but we can judge if somebody doesn't understand something as clearly as the way that T and Doug gave us to understand it. But we can also be careful that, you know, um, we're trying to stick to what they gave us. But at the same time, you know, we want to be honest about what we think. And so, I mean, it can happen in all different ways in terms of the way that people can be of service now. Doug said that you're not going to improve your percentages unless you're growing to check everything, every little thing, to see if it's how an older member would do it. Then he said something that was kind of interesting. He said, if the older member does it wrong, then it's the older member's fault. If they are wrong, and then he repeated himself. And he said, if they are wrong, you are not responsible. You are doing right to do it the way your older member did it. And you go, whoa, wait a minute. If the older member's wrong, this is just the way that they think. They don't think that they can't be wrong about something. Because when something comes up, even if it's the 100th time something came up, they're still checking with their older member on how to respond to that 100th time that question was asked or that circumstance came up, on how to act in that circumstance. Because the older members are acting based on real time. They're not acting in the way that they always did before unless they don't get any updates when they ask their older member. It becomes automatic for them. They have that in their consciousness. Their minds are always a part of their minds. Doesn't mean their whole mind is on asking, uh, because they can have that asking on their mind. I know this because I've experienced it. That my mind can be on asking while I'm doing other tasks. And I'm not necessarily even asking about those tasks, except in the general way. But what he was trying to help us learn to do is make it conscious, because he's also doing that. I mean, so is there a way that I should brush my teeth? That would be more. So it's not whether you get some kind of idea in your head that you can do something different the way that you brush your teeth. It's not about that. It's about the process of connecting with your older member and being willing to change what you're doing if you have an idea about it. And if you have an idea about how to change it, that might be coming from your older member's mind on the spot. But you're also not supposed to trust it. See, this is the kind of thinking that I think is impossible for a human to have unless they have been pulling on older members' mind in some way, shape, or form, regardless of their terminology and their religions and their atheism and whatever they think about the higher forces, the higher, what's above the human kingdom, if they extend their minds that way. Um, I didn't think about this before I joined with T and Do as that I was ever talking to my Heavenly Father. I didn't ever think that way. I didn't even think that I wanted to do the will of my creators. I didn't have that consciousness. Um, I didn't even think that I wanted to do the will of Jesus. It wasn't on my mind. I didn't, so I could just go. So it's like this is new thinking, I think, for everybody. And if they think they've had this thinking for a long time, well, that's great. But then it can always be increased. There's no limit in that. And you never do arrive at a place to where you feel like you got enough. Because that's the moment to where you're starting to separate. You kind of are starting to block them from giving you more. And Doe talks about that. I don't know, was the next tape? Um, that, should I go to that? I don't know if I formatted that right yet.
Excuse me. Hmm.
Drives me crazy with this OneDrive stuff.
You drive me crazy. What the?
All right, so let me go over this other one, 269. Two 269. Okay, and then I need to save that. One more second. Okay, so this is when after they got back, we got back from Atlanta, Georgia, and this is dated November 6th, 87, and we'd been back for about 2 weeks by that time, right? Because of the way that Dan Sodi was talking about the Saturdays. And, and well, he talks about within this tape that it was the student's task to do this church strategy, and he was going to be our check partner and bring it to T and to come up with, whether we were doing things in the way that T would have us do it, and he would have us do it, because anyway, so because they were working as a team, as are both our older members. So he was talking about having funding and um, using our techniques to help break them of their addictions. And he was talking about keeping things surfaced uh, within us. So, like, he's talking about sorority having a lesson of sharing too much next level information that is at a craft task, and the job in the world that we had for a large part of the time of the classroom. And um, that at one point Doe called him a mouthaholic.
That was a
He was joking though. He was laughing. Sorority was laughing also within but sorority knew it was a lesson because uh, uh, Doe was joking about it to some degree, but he was saying, you know, he told somebody in at his job that was asking for new information that they haven't even put into motion the old information yet. So he wasn't going to give them new information, which was like he was taking the role that, which he wasn't supposed to do. But he had so much enthusiasm for what we were talking about during the times that he wasn't at his adequate task of having a church, where we were talking to people about the next level, that I guess he just couldn't hold himself back. I know. I was a little tempted sometimes too, and I made my boo boos as well at craft tasks, which I've talked about many times, and it's probably in my book, in my Sawyer story on my blog, sawyerhg.wordpress.com, if anybody wants to look for it. But
I'm gonna lay down.
I think I'm going to be close to being done. And do I want to? I should bring up that. Let's see what's in the chat room before you leave. Or you can leave if you want. I'll just
Yeah.
say it by myself.
But no, I think maybe in another.
Do it in another stream? Okay, that's fine.
Well, I guess it just.
No, the one thing I think might be of use.
Yeah, go.
Joseph Coates is here still. Yeah, I just wanted to bring up before we close the stream um, that the last stream, if you remember, Joseph, I don't know if you paid attention to the whole stream, but we got some communicate. Kathy got some texts
Well, there are 4 people in the chat right now, and I guess we're gonna assume that Mark is potentially one of those 4 people. So I would think that you're more addressing Mark than anybody else right now.
Well, that's true. That's true. So Mark, just so you know, if you're here, and this applies to anybody that wants to, yeah, Joseph Coates is still there. Um, uh, the same result will happen, but yeah, this is really addressing Mark because one of the things that Mark wrote in a text to Kathy was
During the
that
last live stream.
during the last live stream, um, do you want to say what it was? Um, was that Carloti, he said, had written in a Reddit, in the Heaven's Gate Reddit page, something about, should I read it?
Oh, you don't have to read it all, but just so.
How that Bartel told people on Reddit how to commit suicide. So uh, I went to the Reddit page and I saw the post where they were talking about what the class did, what days they left.
So
Was
long,
kind
long story short.
of, I want to put the context in there. Um, okay. Long story short was that it wasn't Carloti who wrote what seems like Mark was referring to. The name was actually Cllody, and we asked Carloti about it, and Carloti didn't know anything about it, and he's been staying away from Reddit because he doesn't like what happens in Reddit a lot. So he hadn't been on Reddit for a while. And this is a fairly recent post that we're referring to. But what the person said that was using the name Cllody in uppercase letters, um, he gave like a detailed description of the different drugs that different members of the group took,
Allegedly.
allegedly, as far as we
Because
know.
the person listed stuff that is not listed anywhere else as far as.
Well, we don't know, right? We thought it might have been in the
I mean,
sheriff's.
I don't know, I haven't looked at the sheriff's report lately, but as far as has been reported in the mainstream media, it was phenol, barbital, and applesauce or pudding.
Right. But
And this
vodka.
person, and then vodka too, right? And this person listed other things, but they did not list vodka, which I thought was interesting. But regardless, it wasn't Carloti. It's not Carloti.
No. No.
Whether Mark wants to believe that or not.
Yeah. We don't know who it was.
But it'll be easy to prove in court that it's not. And it should be easy to prove who it is.
I guess if somebody knows how to go to Reddit and find out more about who's using that name. There are a number of individuals, if people don't know it,
I think you
that
have to
have
have an email attached to have a Reddit account, don't you?
probably,
So,
yeah, right. But I don't know if we have access to that.
no, but a court order could get that.
But I'm going to ask that individual in the Reddit page. Um,
Well, it seems
and
like I don't if that person is trying to masquerade as Carloti, then that's not cool.
right. But I got reminded that of that individual. I remember, Kathy remembered it better than I did, but when she brought it up, it rang a bell that I knew about somebody that had chosen to take the name Cllody, and there's a whole thing that's gone on with the way that some people are taking Odie names, and I never was in favor of it. I always thought it was a distraction, and a dilution and just not really appropriate. But I also didn't know if um, what Doe would say about it right now. But what happens is that you can see that it gets messed up because it no longer describes the people that were given that name. If individuals just choose to take that name, so it kind of becomes a type of misinformation. You could think that somebody in the future, let's say it's even 10 years from now or something, and or 20 years from now, and there's nobody maybe around that knows the names that were used, and somebody sees that and they think, oh, that must be one of the students, you know, with this name ODY on the end of it. But I mean, I can understand that somebody wants to have that identity, but I think if they want to do that, then they should ask Doe about it, and then if they're going to choose a name with that extension, then be very careful about the way you use it, if you
Well,
use it at
especially,
all.
yeah, one that looks so close to an existing member's name.
Yeah,
Because that
because
seems like,
right,
that calls into question that person's intentions.
and it makes them appear to be like an authority over the subject
Yeah.
because they're an Odie, and but we know that Odies can get things wrong.
Well, also, there was another thing about that Reddit post where, people were asking, like, what the group believed or something, and then here comes Matt, Varsity Bookworm, and directing people to his blog so
Yeah,
they can find out what the Heaven's Gate group really believed.
yeah.
Like, what?
It's a further, it's a distortion.
Why would you direct like, why wouldn't you direct somebody to, well, I don't know, the Heaven's Gate website?
Or send them a link to one of the videos
Yeah,
that
instead
Doe made,
you're gonna point them to your blog with your opinions about
so that
what
you
you
can see what
think.
Ben Zella said and what
Well,
Robert
no,
Ball said,
it's
and
what Matt I can't remember his last name.
you don't need to give us those now. I'd rather not, because we're not trying to, you know,
It's not a and
out somebody or something.
Mark, we knew that you wouldn't believe it. And it's not a matter if we believe him or not. It's very easily proven that it's not him.
And he didn't actually teach anybody how to. If you want
So,
to,
um,
you don't actually believe
like
that we
you
know what we're
know,
talking about.
you know that
Well, I know that.
Carlodi's name is spelled Crlody, and you know that the person that's posting on Reddit, their name is spelled Cllody. So
Right.
it's understandable. It's easy enough to make that mistake. I understand that it's an easy enough mistake to
I made the
make.
mistake actually
Yeah,
at first.
and that's we emailed Carlodi and was like,
Did you write
"What's
this?
up?"
And he said, no, that's not
He's like,
me.
before Sawyer even sent him what that post was, what that person had said, Carlody responded to me and said, "I have not been on Reddit in a while." He had even told us, I don't know how long ago that was, that he said that he was done with Reddit because people were jerks there.
Yeah,
That's why I don't do anything with Reddit, and
I
you
do
don't
very
hardly
little.
do anything because people are just mean and mean.
There's a bunch of know-it-alls there, and
And then you got somebody over there talking about, acting like they're an authority and calling themselves an Odie name.
yeah.
So it doesn't matter what we believe. What matters is that's not us posting things like that.
No, it's not any of the one
And
myself or
we're not,
we don't have any reason to post things. And that wasn't
we're
giving
all,
teenagers
we're
a
all,
formula of some
and
sort.
I don't know why you think Reddit is all teenagers. You're clearly on Reddit and you're not a teenager. So there's plenty of people on Reddit that are not teenagers.
I don't
But,
know. Yeah,
and
I
besides
know.
that, we are all three separate defendants. And you trying to lump us all together as one defendant, talk to your lawyers about
It's
that.
stupid.
Well,
I mean, it's
it just
so.
doesn't make sense. We have all filed everything separately. We're all three separate defendants. So you you can't like say that we're, and I don't know what you're asking me now. None of us think the same. All three of us don't think anything about anything the same way, except for we all don't like being sued by you.
And we all believe that
And
that
that
T and O
you've done a
wanted
lot
to
of
share
shade
their
you've
information
done
with
a
people.
lot of shady things that seems are coming to light. And you told me that the case is not going good for us. Well, it seems to be that it's not going that great for you.
You lost your preliminary injunction. You have no irreparable damage. So how do you expect to get a real injunction when you have no irreparable damage? You better get busy and try to make some money so that you can claim that and have it tied together with us then the fact that we don't make any money. How do you have damage when you're not selling anything? And how do you have damage from people that are not selling anything?
Right.
And you're thinking that, we're, because we're talking about it, that we're causing people to think about a suicide? Do you
Well,
know how many teenagers, wait a minute,
it's
you
not
know how many,
fair for you to lump us in with each other. Is And besides, like, I don't know why you're so hung up on this suicide thing. I don't know how many times Sawyer has said he's against that. I don't know how many times I've said it. We pulled out numerous clips of
and
interviews that we've both done saying we're against that we are going to present at the trial. So I don't know what you're going to say that like we're promoting suicide or something, because we're going to have over half a dozen clips of us saying the exact opposite of that, with timestamps,
that's right,
disclaimers before live streams,
that's right.
in descriptions. Like, I've had people straight up ask me, were you scared of joining this cult because you were going to have to kill yourself? I'm like, first off, there is no cult, so that's number one. And second off, there's no asking for that. So that's an interview that we did
Our
in
position
Savannah,
is against
Georgia.
suicide.
Like, we have it on
It'd be a
record
waste of humans to commit
multiple
suicide.
times that we have not, we're against that. So if that's your only defense against us,
It's
I don't know. I guess you need to come up with something else because it's
Well,
not true.
the judge already ruled that you don't have the grounds.
You actually are promoting it more than we are.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad you're keeping the website up, but if you weren't doing it, guess what? We would be doing it. Because we're not afraid of that subject because we are genuinely against suicide and we can describe why. And it's logical why. But if you don't like what Doe said, which we're questioning that, you have a lot of problems with Doe, or Sarah does. One of you do, or both of you do.
What Doe said in the last tape that we listened to was that he was worried about you two when you first left the group, when you were first asked to leave, um, in September of 1987, that he was worried about you, that you two were looking to each other. This is word for word what he said. You were
That's right.
looking to each other and you were not looking to your older member. And that he didn't know, but it seemed like you guys had some quirk in your brains where you thought you were looking to your older member, but he didn't know who you were looking to. Because it certainly wasn't him. That's what he said.
That was just the start of the things that he said that are on tape about you. And that
So
didn't go
I was
away.
actually going to record that and send it to you so you can see. It's tape 269
269. That's right.
at around
It's towards the.
it's towards the end. Um and the retired judge did not draft a summary judgment. That's what your lawyer sent to him. So I don't know what you want us to check out. You can email that to me. Mark says that the retired judge had already given a drafted summary judgment. That's. If you're talking about.
Maybe he did. I don't know.
He didn't. He didn't. If you're talking about when you tried to get a summary judgment before the case had we'd been even allowed to respond, if that's the summary judgment you're talking about, if you're talking about the documents that are completely vanished from our court docket, are those the ones that you're talking about? That there's absolutely no record of them whatsoever? Because only you have access to that in your attorneys. Because all of that was stricken from the. It's not even stricken. It's just not even there. You go to our court docket, and there's like 5 to 7 documents that are just missing. The numbers jump. And the only reason why we even noticed that is because your attorneys kept referring to these mysterious documents and saying that, yes, like you said, the judge had already come to an agreement and already ruled that you guys had basically won. And that was 3 years ago, so how come we're going to go to trial? I could ask you the very same thing that you just asked me about Sawyer, and not me because Doe didn't know who I was, who I am. And in this last tape that we listened to, Doe talked about every single second of the day, constantly checking, not making a decision and sticking by it for the rest of your lives. So are you constantly asking if you're doing the right thing? Do you think it's right to be suing a new believer in T and Doe? Do you think it's right to, like, not allow me to have the tapes and to talk about the tapes? Do you think that's right? Do you think Doe would approve of how you treated me? How you're treating me, a new believer? Separate me out from Sawyer and Carlotti, because I am my own individual person. So do you think it's right that you're suing me, somebody who tells you I love Doe, I love T? They're my older members. I believe in them. I believe they are who they say they are. How many people have you heard say that? And you're going to sue me? You think that's okay? And yes, we are going to trial. You are going to be.
Unless you can pay off the judges.
You are going to be sitting in a courtroom in South Bend, Indiana, across from us. You're going to be answering our questions because we're the attorneys. So you better prepare yourself for trial.
Well, even if you abandon the case, then you're going to lose the case to our countersuit. So, so I don't know. I'm not saying it'll go to trial. I mean, we're not. We're going to fight you tooth and nail because we've got the upper hand from the next level's perspective in many ways. And we haven't even begun the fight. You haven't even seen our ammunition yet. So we're getting more focused. So if you can convince the judge to have a summary judgment against us,
We've already filed our objections. It's not,
yeah,
they're
and
not,
they're going to have to ignore our
you're
objections.
not, you haven't even been given the permission to even file a motion to ask to have a summary judgment.
Right.
So,
So you're speaking
I
like
mean, I hope you didn't pay your
I don't
attorneys
know
a
what you're
lot of
smoking these
money.
days.
I'm sure they've already drafted up the summary judgment that they are hoping the judge will look at, but we're still in discovery. There's a toll on discovery in case your attorneys haven't told you that. It's not,
And you've been trying
there's
to
no
delay
evidence.
that and get out of the discovery.
There's
'Cause
no
you don't want to
evidence
give us
that's been admitted.
the things that will convince everybody. You know, we've already,
You're so used to people dropping out
yeah,
and bowing down that you don't know, like, you know, like somebody, you're used to just threatening people with lawsuits and sending them scary letters and
like
threatening to shut their businesses down, and
like you
everybody
did with
rolls
Rick
over
Cody's
and
daughter.
listens to you. But we don't have anything to lose, and we love Tian Do, and we believe every single word they said.
And we deserve to have all the information.
And so does everybody else on this
And to
planet.
choose to do, you even evidenced in the meeting that we had that you weren't going along with Sarah on some things.
You want the tapes out too.
Like I asked you
That's what
both.
you said. If you were supposed to upload the tapes by the 25th anniversary of the classes leaving, that was supposed to be a very important date, but you didn't do, like you got instructions from Doe to release the tapes on that date or something, but you didn't do that. So why didn't you? Because of Sawyer? You're not doing what your older brother told you to do because of him? Or
in,
because of Carlotti? Because they're sharing audio tapes? Like,
in,
because
in that meeting that we had
I don't get it.
in Phoenix,
We're just going to go to trial and
can,
it'll be. I'm sorry.
in that meeting that we had in Phoenix, I asked you both, you and Sarah, what whether I could use clips of audios with my music, and you said to me that it was okay with you, but it wasn't okay with Sarah. And then Sarah began to say why it wasn't okay with her, that she had already denied certain people music, using, T and Doe's voices in their music and stuff like that. And
Well, it's really funny because Doe is a music teacher.
yeah, so in other words, you were okay with it, but Sarah wasn't. So right now, according to you, I should be able to publish those few things that I have.
Oh, don't get him thinking you got all kinds of music with Doe's voice or
I
something.
do,
Because
I
they're.
do, but it doesn't matter.
You,
He knows it already. I already talked to him about it.
you're just going to, like, have them going off
So
on
good. Let
that.
him pay the lawyers
There's
another
not anything
$10,000
even
to try to format something out of that, so they can add it to the list, and then we're gonna owe him another $10 million if we don't if we ever do anything with that. I haven't done anything with that. They haven't been published.
We're not trying to, like. I don't know. It's just this. This is craziness.
It's
Like,
ridiculous, but
we're not. It's not us against you guys.
it's influences.
I don't understand why it's. We just want to.
We've got this idea that Doe
We
made
want
a
to
mistake, I think.
We want to transcribe the tapes. We want to do an. Why don't you have the Heaven's Gate book on audio? Why don't you have an audio book of the Heaven's Gate book? Like, we'll do that for free. Like, no, you know.
Because they don't want
You
the
don't want
information
us
out
to,
because they're
like,
so
do
afraid that somebody's
anything.
gonna
Like, you're
use that and
discriminating
decide
against
that
us
they're gonna off themselves because of it.
because you don't like us.
And we
And
point
that's
out the
not,
lies that you've told.
you know, we don't know what's going to happen with the information when, you know, you guys are gone. Who's going to take care of it?
Okay, I think I want to go past this and end the stream.
There's stuff going on in the chat. I don't know what, but
Let
I
me go
can
to the
see the
chat.
things. But yeah, it is almost 8. And we have to work. I get up at 3 o'clock every morning to go out and work.
So Joseph says perhaps it's stuff from Derek Humphrey's final exit book. Oh, maybe. Maybe it is.
But who has that?
Uh,
Well, yes,
I've heard of
Carlody
that book.
does.
I've
Like,
heard of that book. Joseph Coates
that's
says, well,
Cody's book.
no, Derek Humphrey. That's somebody else.
Oh, I was thinking Chuck Humphreys. Who's
No,
Derek Humphrey?
no, Derek, that's Slayer. So anyway, we definitely wanted people in the chat that come to these streams to know that that was not Carl Lodi who wrote that.
Well,
That was
we
somebody
don't
named.
know that, but we
It was
do know
not Carl Lodi.
that Carlodius stated it's not him and it's not his name, and
I didn't
we
think
do
he
not
did
believe
anyway.
that it's him.
I never thought it was him,
Didn't.
especially
I
with
don't even.
the way that
Whether
Mark expanded it to
well, and
making
whether
like
it
he was
whether
teaching people
right, and whether
how to
it
leave.
is or isn't, it doesn't have anything to do with us. It's just like
Right.
anybody that's
That's
doing
another part of it.
anything with Heaven's Gate stuff has nothing to do with us.
Right.
We're our own individual people. That's like us accusing Mark and Sarah of having something to do with, you know, the documentaries that come out that they submit footage for, that they give audio tape clips to. Is it fair to accuse you of being behind everything that the ABC, you know, documentary puts out, or the Inside Edition one, the Diane Sawyer one? That you gave them the audio of Doe saying that he was going to jump off a cliff? Like, you don't agree with all that stuff, and we don't think that you do, because we're smarter than that. It's like everything Sawyer's done. He doesn't agree with what the interviewers are, how they're spinning it. But he wants to put out some of the truth.
I don't agree with everything Carl Lodi says.
I know, but I'm just
Or
saying,
files or anything like that.
like when Mark and Sarah have given, you know, information to major mainstream media outlets that then make documentaries that are full of lies and misinformation. I'm saying we don't think that Mark and Sarah are like all on board and saying, oh yeah, that's exactly what we knew was going to happen when we gave them that footage. You know, they're hoping that the media is going to do with it what you're hoping when you give interviews. Maybe some of the truth will come out. Maybe the people that need to hear it will hear it or see it. Let those who have eyes see and those who have ears hear.
Anyway, yeah. So I guess, folks, as long as you all know that that's not Carl Lodi, as CLLODY, I am 100% sure of that.
I'm pretty certain of it too.
Because let me put it this way.
But
Um,
I don't know.
we don't need to pretend that we don't know. We don't know. Carl Lodi has no reason to put to.
No,
Well,
and he wouldn't be on.
it's
He's
not
not
even
on.
linked. It's not even linked to what Mark said.
He's he's
It's
not
not
on Reddit, and
that post says nothing about teaching people how to exit.
Oh, right. yeah, sorry, I didn't let you get to that. That is not. It
Right.
was not a step by step. You know that
No.
whatever
And what
that
teenager
person.
needs to hear that anyway? If they want to exit,
Carloti, we are totally talking all about you. And just to catch you up, Mark has been texting me, and he thinks that that's not true. Well, he says if you want to believe Carloti, that is your choice. And then he also says, so all three of you now accept the window is closed, which I don't really know what that means. And I've never said any, I'm guessing that it's about like
now
the gate
let's not
or,
even go there because he's baiting us now.
well, I don't even know what that means. Like I've never
I
said
know what
any,
that means. I
yeah, and
know what that means.
I don't know, like that's not something that I've, anyway, then Carloti, he goes on to say, excuse me, the retired judge, our former judge, had already given a draft summary judgment. You may want to check it out. Then he goes on to say, Doe had a change of heart about us, shouldn't you? And then he tells me that we are not going to trial. So, Carloti, that catches you up to what Mark texted me during the stream just now.
Anyway, so Paladin says, when is the Hell Bob coming back around again?
Isn't it? When is it?
And we have no idea.
I
Uh,
thought I thought it was.
well, humans have maybe some idea, but based on the current arc.
Ask Chad GPT,
But
Paladin.
that
Come
doesn't mean
on.
you're going to get a good answer from ChatGPT.
What
They're
Chat
stupid.
GPT? Oh, don't talk about Chat GPT that way.
I
Hold on, let
can.
me ask it.
They are stupid. You get different answers when you ask different questions.
Wait, what are we asking?
They don't even know how to add up the
When
calories in your meal
I know that's why I stopped
that they
using.
told you
But
about.
you know what? It did help me focus on,
I know, but they're not.
combinations. When
But
is hail Bob?
people are making far too much out of this. The whole, in my opinion, the whole intellectual uh,
These data centers that they're building are not.
so-called artificial intelligence isn't intelligent at all. It's not real intelligent. It's just mimicking things. And yeah, you can learn some things from it, fine. But to take them all as the gospel is a big
Oh my
mistake,
God! It's not supposed to come back until 4,380.
which is ridiculous. What if it speeds up? Or what if it changes the arc?
Oh
Things
my
like that
God.
happened with Hale Bopp actually in particular. If you look up the history of it, and
It
also
says for a very, very long time.
yeah. So
More than 2,300 years from now.
and it doesn't matter if it does come back. It doesn't mean that there's
Oh,
going
wait,
to
I
be a
gotta thank
spacecraft.
ChatGPT so it doesn't come back and kill me later.
It doesn't matter if it does come back because it doesn't mean if it comes back that a next level spacecraft will be with it or near it. And it doesn't mean that the craft that picked up the crew was in it or actually flying close to it. Even the companion object was millions of miles away from it when it was but it was tagging along with it so that lots of pictures had been taken of the companion object. And then they tried to deny that there was any companion object, even though they had a name for it and they called it the Saturn uh,
Yeah, I think you're right, Carlody.
something. Mark's playing a game. Don't believe anything he says. Yeah, I think he is. I think he's trying to bait us.
Yeah, Joseph, that's what ChatGPT said. It actually said 2,300 years, not 2,400 years. But so
Maybe he
it's
got a different answer.
right. But I like 23 better because that's my favorite number.
Oh, right.
What was the Earth like last time it was here? Well, it was here in 1997 when the class left. So
Well,
not well, it was different from now, but
it was different from now. You
yeah, the
think about
internet hadn't
1997 and
yeah, the
now.
internet hadn't quite
You didn't
exploded
have
just yet.
all those terrible things that the government did with all the endless wars on terror and then all the big financial collapse that happened right after that,
Yeah.
and the whole 9/11 thing, and the whole then all the big C stuff with the disease thing that they did, all these hoaxes, and they weren't just hoaxes. I mean, they weren't like phony things happening. There were things happening, but they weren't what they told us they were entirely, and they lied like crazy in all of those subjects to get their way. A lot of things have changed since 1997, and this is part of the
Why
reason
would
why they left,
why
because
would
they
you
knew things needed to change.
why would you demand a jury trial? And then
Because that's the way they'd have it in the rule books. They say
not
that
even
you have the right when you make it a federal case or something, you have to say that uh, it's a demand for a jury trial, and that also it has to be a certain amount of money before it can be brought to a jury or something like that. I don't remember anymore, but and they have all their little ways of doing things that Mark seems to believe in. That's fine. You can believe in that club, and if you can get your way, then get your way. I hope you'll be happy if you get your way. It's not going to stop the next level from individuals believing in them and looking to their information. It's not going to, because it's impossible for you to stop that.
Las Vegas had floods?
Who's saying that?
I don't know. It's one thing. Anyway. Hmm. Bedtime or you got
Yeah, no, I think we're done. I
sorry.
um, yeah. Well, I guess there's nothing more to start on talking about now. Because I don't really care to keep dueling with Mark through the chats to Kathy at this moment. What TV shows did the crew like to watch? Star Trek Next Generation. Um, we watched a lot of different TV shows, sometimes just for relaxing. Uh, you know, like even like shows like Murder She Wrote, from the old
Oh
days,
yeah, we watched some of
and
those.
and I Spy, and what was it? Those people that were
Remington Steele, surprisingly,
we
which
watched
there was.
Remington Steele.
Those are quite steamy.
Are they?
Yeah,
Oh, we didn't watch that many of them, but a few. We
probably
watched
because
Mission
there was quite
Impossible. We watched.
undercurrents.
Well, maybe we didn't watch the TV show Mission. Well, maybe we did. I don't remember now, but we didn't watch it that much. If we did watch it, but I mean, the list is very long. It's probably not. Most of the things were all on network TV. So, but we saw all the well, not all, but all the space movies. That during those years, pretty much the Star Trek series and Close Encounters, and a lot of things. Especially when they had little lessons in them. All right, so Carlotti says, how would Mark know that the previous judge had a summary judgment drafted?
I think he's
That
referring.
would be ex parte and not allowed. He's bluffing.
Right. Well, I think that's what he's talking about is the very beginning before any of us even knew that we were being sued, they also filed for a restraining order. No, a protective order.
Preliminary injunction.
Right. There were things that there were
It was a preliminary injunction.
It was a preliminary injunction with a protective order. And also with a summary judgment. So they wanted to just have it settled on the merits.
Right.
That they had copyrights and we had admitted, and they had this evidence that we had admitted to using their copyrights, and so.
But then the judge decided that that wasn't right.
But there was
wasn't
like
to
there
be
were
followed.
documents like we would have to get up the docket in front of us. I took note of all of the documents that are missing from our docket. I think it's document 5, 7, and 10, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
These are things that were filed before their complaint was even logged on the docket. So
before we even filed our answer.
That's what I'm saying. Before we even knew we were being sued, they were already asking for a summary judgment.
So I guess when the judge saw our answers and how thorough our answers
I have
were,
no idea, but like there was
thought
something.
twice about
the judge did
going
something,
along with that.
And we didn't know anything about it until, I don't know, months later when their lawyers referred to that document and saying, and they kept referring back to it and saying, according to the judge's orders, page 10, docket entry number 10,
right.
It's been said that that the plaintiffs will most likely win based on the merits or something. And
right.
we were like, what the heck? And so we were trying to find this, number 10, and it doesn't exist because it's been scrubbed. And I called it into question. I don't know exactly what thing it was that I filed, but I put in all of those ones that are missing and I asked for access to them. Like, how can the plaintiffs keep referring to these documents that we do not have access to? And they're using them against us and saying, the case is already decided. You, the judge, have already said. And I wanted to use that as also grounds for moving it out of this court. If the judge had already said, yeah, you guys are going to win, that's not fair. That's not being fair to us. We're not getting a fair shake here. So that means we need a new judge. And I think the judge knew that. And that's why he scrubbed all of those documents. And it's officially on record me asking for them, but I've been completely ignored. But I'll ask for them again.
Gilligan's Island, yeah, we watched Gilligan's Island. And the Love Boat a little bit. And, yes. Now, see, I remember when we did a status report around that time. I think Mark and Sarah had their lawyers draw up some document to try to skip over Discovery, because that's right.
Yeah, but
right around the time that Discovery was going to be laid out by the judge.
They haven't officially asked for a summary judgment yet.
Before our hearing, I guess.
They said they were going to ask for it, and right. Judge Gotch actually called them to the table for that and said, you said you were going to do it, but then you never did.
Right.
Carlotti asked for one, but he didn't do it right, which is good, because we don't want one.
Not when it's going to be...
we want all of the evidence out.
Yeah. Yeah. We want the whole story to be out there. And we intend to, we've got a lot more coming.
We're allowed to have the information.
And we're allowed to have our day in court. It's part of the, our right to be able to have discovery. And and you need to, if you're still hanging in here, uh, you need to actually demonstrate cooperation with Discovery, not the way that you have. You wanted a protective order on half the stuff, and it was overbroad. The protective order that you proposed to the judge said was overbroad. You couldn't have a protective order on everything on that limited criteria that you had. See, the judge has already ruled on a lot of things already in the preliminary injunction battle that we went through with you. Do you know how many times we filed and you filed responses to responses to responses, wasting all that time and your money?
Right.
And you got nowhere with it because
And
you don't have any grounds that the next level cares about.
in copyright cases, typically the plaintiffs are not awarded attorney fees. Especially when you don't have any damages except for the ones you caused to yourselves.
Exactly.
You're gonna sue somebody over 9 shirts?
And the judge talked about that in that last order that Judge Gotch ordered. And he didn't deny, even though he denied me a preliminary injunction against you, uh, um, he knew that, he said that it's because I didn't present my case for fair use very well, or latches and delay very well, or my case against you, your fraudulent um, generation of copyrights. I didn't present that very well. I wasn't convincing. And he said that he wasn't going to go through my entire defense to try to figure out, uh, what the basis of those claims that I was making uh, were. And but he basically told me what I needed to do to improve those parts of my case. And so I'm going to do those things. So my case is going to get much better so that it's very clear to a jury, or you decide to give us everything we want.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Don't
well,
say that.
I'm just going to put it that way. I mean, I'm not going to want anything unreasonable. I don't want anything unreasonable like you do. Millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And saying that there was a conspiracy and Kathy was part of the conspiracy, when she didn't even know about it at the time when, you know,
Yeah, I didn't.
a lot of the stuff was going down that was upsetting you so much.
Anyway.
It's very interesting that these tapes that we're talking about right now weren't available to us through what Riccoti had. The only reason we got them was because of you giving them to Wanoti. And Wanoti feeling like it wasn't right to just sit on them. And so he gave them to me. We know the rest of the story. But it's very interesting the way Doe was talking about you all. And you think that you were redeemed. And it's true. You were potentially redeemed. But if you don't live up to that redemption, then you're not still redeemed. It's not like the Jesus story to where just believing, all of a sudden now you're saved. You have to continually redeem yourself. You know that's true. If you don't know that's true, then you're ignoring it because an influence is, not letting you listen to it,
I gotta go to bed.
in my opinion.
I have to be up.
All right, so good night, folks.